Welcome to a brand new episode of the Bold Take Podcast. I'm Austin Wader. That's Austin Hill coming at you with the NFL edition of the Bold Take Podcast for this week. If you missed it, college football episode came out a bit earlier. We talk what was a wild, and I think it's safe to say, I say it again, a wild weekend of college football, upsets everywhere. We get you ready for what should be a fun weekend. A lot of ranked matchups, Austin, and multiple bets of the week as well. So that's something they'll definitely want to tune in for.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a blast.
It really is. But we're going to talk NFL here. But real quick, since we talked MLB last week, I think it's safe to say to give an update on how things are going. We got two game fives that are going to take place before this recording has happened with the Dodgers and Padres tonight. And then the Tigers and Guardians. Almost said the wrong name there. Almost got canceled. Tigers and Guardians on Saturday. But nonetheless, two games five. But the Mets and the Yankees both advancing there. The Yankees one is one many people really kind of saw coming. But the Mets taking care of the Phillies in four games. And that Mets magic seems to be here, Austin, because they never say die ever.
No, they've really come alive and looked really, really good. I've been really impressed. Like you said, the Yankees, number one team in the AL East. I did pick against them. They had a bad end to the season, in my opinion. But they were able to come out on top against the Royals. Not the biggest shocker in the entire world. But now we've got a couple of great game fives coming up with the Padres and Dodgers playing tonight, and the Tigers and the Guardians playing tomorrow night. Um, it's certainly going to be a couple exciting matchups to set up our championship series.
Yes, it is. And what great series those will be. But let's get into the NFL now, talking about it. Obviously, a lot went down this past week in the NFL. We're going to start with some big news that broke on Monday morning, as far as I'm concerned, or it might have been Tuesday. Robert Saleh fired as the Jets head coach after a 2-3 start to the season. Now they have made the firing. They've moved Nathaniel Hackett away from offensive play calling. Seems to be a little bit of adjusting, Austin, but the rumors going around, it's very obvious. How much did Aaron Rodgers have to do with this? Is the rumor going around? There's a report that he got fired as soon as he walked into the building, pretty much, and that Aaron Rodgers had a phone call with the owner of the Jets the night before, and then it happens. I mean, I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but I'm not saying it's suspicious, though, because it sounds kind of suspicious.
Yeah, look, who knows with this whole situation? What really happened? I'm not here to point fingers at Aaron Rodgers. I'm here to point fingers at the Jets management. Look, whether you're listening to Aaron Rodgers or you made this decision on your own, having Robert Saleh taking the blame because 47 million-year-old Aaron Rodgers isn't performing at the level that he performed at 2 or 3 years ago before he destroyed his Achilles in the first game of the season last year. And I think it's just completely ridiculous. Look, this was the risk you had to be willing to take. You paid the big money, you made the big move to get Aaron Rodgers on your team. You had to know that Aaron Rodgers stood the chance of not being as good as he was when he was 25 years old. That's just the logic in it, even when he was 30 something years old. He's in his 40s, and now coming into this season, he's torn his Achilles. Look, it's not entirely Aaron Rodgers' fault that this team is bad. But look, the offense hasn't been great. He hasn't been executing at the level expected. Honestly, this defense has not been too bad in New York. Really, to me, the big thing is that they went all in and they didn't win. They put all the chips in the middle of the table and they lost the hand. And I think at that point, you have to accept the facts. And look, if you're gonna fire your head coach and start to move around with the staff, maybe it's best to go ahead and start shifting around some of these veteran pieces on the roster and stick to the rebuild that you were in the middle of a couple of years ago.
I think that's fair. I will say the thing that cost Robert Saleh, I think he's a great coach. Whoever gets him as a defensive coordinator this offseason is a huge hire. But the problem is, as great as he made that defense, that offense just never clicked for him. In his time there, he made them arguably one of the best defenses in the NFL, but the offense never got going. And that was truly what was his undoing. And obviously, like you said, when they traded for Aaron Rodgers in his 40s, there had to be some risk going there. And so far, it has not paid off thus far and ended up costing him his job. But I think it's safe to say that certain teams are going to be looking at him for defensive coordinator jobs in the offseason, given what he did in San Francisco before and what he did to the Jets defense in his time there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely with you right there. He's a guy that if the Bears decide Eberflus isn't the right guy for the job next year, he's a guy I'd love to see as a head coach or a DC in Chicago. Runs a very similar scheme, kind of the way he uses a lot more pass defense linebackers. It's really a similar system. I think we've got the pieces to fit his flow and his system. So I'd love to see him as a guy in Chicago. I think he gets a lot of flack. And look, not trying to make this political, but it is also questionable that he loses his job days after having the Lebanon flag patch on his shirt. Again, not saying that that's another factor, but it is really bad look for the NFL. And also to point out, he didn't wear it for a political reason. His family's from Lebanon, just like you see all kinds of other players and coaches with patches of their home countries where they come from or on the back of their helmets. So it wasn't politically motivated, but maybe that it just doesn't look good for the NFL from that perspective either. So I think this is a questionable firing and kind of a bad decision by the Jets and maybe bad for the league as well.
It truly was. But we'll see how the rest of the season goes down for the New York Jets and what their offseason could look like. But now let's get to the second major news of the day from earlier this week. Drake Maye being announced as the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, going to start against the Houston Texans this weekend. Look, me and you have both been very perfectly blunt when we said that this rebuild was going well. He's not sitting there taking the pressure. Jacoby Brissett's taking it all. Now they're putting him into that starting role. And you have to wonder if maybe they're setting him up for failure here with going against what's a very talented Texans defensive line for his first career start.
Yeah, here's my big thing about this game. I think eventually Drake Maye needs to play this season if he's gonna, take any real strides this year. But why not wait maybe one more week? If you go back to week 2, Bears, Texans, Sunday Night Football. This defensive line got to Justin Fields a lot, or not Justin Fields. Stuck in last year's mode. They got to Caleb Williams a lot in that game. I believe it was 40 something pressures on. It was like 42 pressures on 49 attempts, or something like that, something crazy like that. And look, Caleb Williams didn't play his best game. He didn't get hit a lot. He did a very good job getting the ball out as much as possible. But another bad offensive line, another rookie quarterback. Look, eventually you want him to be able to kind of be able to handle these pressures. That's what you hope with a first round picking quarterback. Eventually they'll be able to adjust to the game and play. But I wouldn't want his first start to be here. We've seen how bad the offensive line is. Like you said, Jacoby Brissett's been the one taking the beating. Let him take a beating one more week. Again, I think eventually Drake Maye has to come and play if he's going to learn anything this year, because you don't want him coming in next season and having to have all those rookie struggles behind the offensive line and really learning the offense and feeling the flow of an NFL game. But maybe wait one more week where you don't face a defense that already gave one rookie quarterback with a bad offensive line a ton of trouble this year.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, like I said, I just think they're setting him up for failure in this situation. I think he should play at some point down the road. I would have probably waited till after, the trade, maybe after like the trade deadline or the halfway point of the season is when
Yeah.
I would have done it. Like maybe like after week 10, it's like, you know what? Second half of the season, let's see what we got in him. I wouldn't have a problem with it there. I feel like it's a little early for that. But before we go into our next storyline, of course, Austin, as per usual, I keep on forgetting to start the show with this. Our biggest winners and losers from the past week in the NFL. Like I said, a lot of good games, a lot of fun things went down. What about your biggest winner from week 5 in the NFL?
My biggest winner, I'm going to give it to the Washington Commanders. I think they've played just a really incredible season so far. I think Jalen Daniels has come along super duper fast. And look, it's not the most impressive win against the Cleveland Browns. Clearly, this is a team that has a lot of problems going on, and a quarterback who seems to hate the game of football, minus what's going on off the field. So a lot of issues in Cleveland, but just the way this team looks, look, even coming into the season, no matter how bad the Browns could have been this year, before I'd seen the Commanders play, I would have thought the Browns would have won this game. I would have thought the Commanders would have lost a lot more games up to this point. Just the one loss, which I don't think enough people are talking about, which is crazy enough because it does feel like people are talking about it. But I just feel like this is a big deal for them. And I'm not going to get into the who's better, Jalen Daniels or Caleb Williams. We're not even through one full season of these guys playing. I'm just honestly going to sit here and be impressed with how talented Jalen Daniels has played, how good he is, and just I think I've been saying Jalen Daniels and it's Jaden Daniels, isn't it?
Yeah.
Discount all of my expert opinion because I'm wrong. But I've just been really impressed with the way they played.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They've been incredible. I'll go one from the AFC. I'll take the Denver Broncos. They got the win. They've now won three in a row, getting to 3-2. And Austin, the defense for them is incredible so far this year. Only one game that this year they've given up 20 or more points, and that was week one against Seattle. Besides that, the most points they've given up in a game was against the Raiders with 18. The defense has helped, and this is what I get when you have a young quarterback trying to develop him. Having a great defense behind him builds more confidence in that quarterback and in the rest of the offense. And we're seeing that now, a 3-2 record for them, a really good past 3 weeks for them after an 0-2 start. So, how to show them some love there. A lot of good contenders for biggest loser, Austin. A lot of good contenders here. What you going with?
I'm gonna go with one that's near and dear to my heart, a little bit personal. I think it's low hanging fruit, but I want to make an example out of them right here on the podcast. I'm gonna say hold this L, Carolina Panthers. Um, all the talk, all this yapping we've heard. They can't handle that they got fleeced by Ryan Poles. They've been bad. They want to blame everything but what the problem is, the management. And now they're coming in and saying Caleb Williams a bust. Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback. This, that, and the other. Comes the game time, and this team does not show up, even with Andy Dalton playing quarterback. It's really a shame and really an embarrassment where this program is, or where this franchise is, and where these fans are right now. But it was nice to see the Bears shut down the yapping. Caleb Williams having a big time performance, made some big boy throws in that game, and made the Panthers look bad. So had to go with one that's a little bit personal for me.
I mean, and DJ Moore, incredible performance by him too. I mean, it was just a bad day for them. I could go with a very easy AFC North team for my biggest loser, but that's way too obvious for it. So I'm going to take another AFC North team. I'll take the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, a heartbreaking loss to the Ravens, which we're going to probably touch on a little bit here soon, but I mean, this offense, Joe Burrow's having an incredible season thus far. I mean, 1,300 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Offense has been phenomenal, but this defense has been so terrible. It has cost them games. Not to mention Zach Taylor, my personal favorite coach, as you all know, screwing them over really in that overtime after that fumble recovery. No, let's not be aggressive and try to get an easier field goal range and go with a pass game that has worked all day. Let's run the ball 3 times and attempt a long field goal in which the holder can't get it and they miss the field goal, and then Derrick Henry essentially wins the game on the next play. So 1-4 start for them. I mean, it's bad. It's looking really bad for the defense. The offense is incredible, and the offense is what can get them back on a roll. But something has to change in this defense, or else things are going to get even worse for them.
Yeah, and I mean, really, can we just state the obvious and what's been the problem with this defense? The secondary has just over the last couple off seasons fallen out the back. They've been saving money for Joe Burrow, saving money to pay these receivers. They had a lot of young guys they have to pay, and they've been paying to get some bigger names on the offensive line to help keep Burrow protected. Not to say that I don't understand the mindset, but they've lost a lot of pieces in the secondary. and this team just really doesn't have the same leadership. Jesse Bates, Von Bell, I believe, was the other safety that left. I think he's back now, but still they've lost pieces at corner. They've basically had a carousel, just a revolving door at corner over the last few years. Haven't really been able to figure anything out there. So I just think the secondary is really where it starts and ends with this defensive struggle.
Yeah, it definitely is. But now after that, let's move to the next big storyline. That's with the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr on Monday Night Football suffered an oblique injury that's expecting him to miss at least the next 2 weeks with it. So in comes for the Saints a new rookie quarterback making his debut, much like Drake Maye, Spencer Rattler getting the start. And like we talked about pre-draft process and all last year in college football, this is a guy in college football when he got into it was the guy who was like, oh, he's going to be the future number one pick. He's going to be a star quarterback in the NFL. Well, here's your chance. You're going to have an opportunity. Obviously, you're going to play a pretty solid Tampa Bay team this weekend that will not make your life very easy, especially with them coming off of a loss. But then you take a look after that. You take on a Broncos defense on Thursday Night Football that has been red hot. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the beginning, maybe, of the Spencer Rattler era in New Orleans?
Um, I'm excited to see what we're going to see out of Spencer Rattler. Like you said, this was a guy that had all the talent, all the potential to be a first round pick, a number one overall pick. And it really just didn't come together the way it was all planned for him. But now he's still in the NFL. He's still got a heck of a lot of talent. Look, when I went to see Baylor and Oklahoma play back whenever Jalen Hurts was their quarterback, 2018 and 2019, um, I thought I just watching him in pregame warmups, wasn't even dressed out because he was red shirted. Was just out there throwing. Actually, was dressed out because he was red shirted. But if they needed him, he could play. But just throwing stuff in warmups, he was making unreal catches. I was wondering if they might just throw him in at wide receiver just for fun. So he's got incredible talent. He's a guy that I've always wanted to see succeed. But now he gets his chance. He was a late round pick, but the Saints really needed to put somebody as their future, get somebody in line because eventually this team has to rebuild. We'll see. That accountant is still doing wonders for this team. But now he gets a chance to play, and we get to see if he's the future in New Orleans and if he's everything he was cracked up to be coming out of high school and coming out of college.
I was about to say they have to rebuild at some point. It may be 20 years down the road, but they will rebuild at some point. It's just a matter of when. When they do rebuild, it will be one of the most biggest shockers of all time.
Yeah,
Whenever they just want to get rid of all that money, and it's like, wow, they actually have cap space now. What are they going to do with that? but
exactly.
now, yeah, but now let's get into some of the games from this past weekend. Let's start with we talked about it really quickly, but we'll dive in a little bit more. Ravens and Bengals, 41-38 win for the Ravens. Their third straight win, moving to 3-2. Listen, the offenses were on point in this game, Austin. Highlight after highlight after highlight. It was incredible. But mistakes for Cincinnati, like we said. Number one, the interception by Burrow late in the game that led to a field goal for the Ravens to force overtime. Then you have the bad snap from the field goal for the Bengals to try to win it. And then Derrick Henry, the next play for the Ravens, gets them down in chip shot field goal range. But listen, the Ravens, after a 0-2 start, that was surprising. Kind of like them, they won three in a row. It seems, and it's terrifying for me to say, that this offense is getting better and better with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson every single week.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've talked enough, I think, about the Bengals' struggles and their decisions, but here with the Ravens, yeah, like you said, I've been really impressed with them. They're starting to look like the team we expected. And look, it was just an adjustment period. Lamar hadn't played a lot out of the gun or out of the pistol, and hasn't done a lot under center. He's had to adjust to some new offensive plays so that they could find a better place for Derrick Henry to start to thrive. But now that they're on the same page and Derrick Henry starting to play really, really good football, this team really looks unstoppable.
I mean, I hate saying it, especially now after the Steelers have somehow blown a division lead after a 3-0 start in the span of 2 weeks. I mean, it's truly astonishing. The next game we're talking about, the Texans taking down the Bills 23-20. And Austin, look, we can talk about the game if you want to, but the end of this game is what we need to discuss and what the Buffalo Bills were thinking. Let's just set it up. 32 seconds left. It's a 2020 game. You're on your own 3-yard line. No timeouts left. You're thinking, oh, let's just run the ball. Let's go to overtime. We have no chance of going in field goal range, being aggressive. But then you have deep pass, incomplete, deep pass, incomplete, deep pass, incomplete. All of a sudden, you're punting out of the back of your own end zone, and it automatically puts the Texans in field goal range for them to win on a walk-off field goal. I mean, I don't know what Sean McDermott and Josh Allen were thinking at the end of the game here, but I'll just flat out say it. Someone should be fired for that. I don't know who. Someone in the offensive staff should be fired for it because that was atrocious game and clock management at the end as I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the big thing is, look, my first instinct is run the ball, and if you break a big run, you maybe get a first down. You get a huge gain down the field. Maybe then I'll come out and throw the football. But yeah, play for overtime at that point. Give yourself a better chance to win this game. Don't give them such a softball to win.
I mean, it was just bad. I mean, I don't care. I don't know whose fault it is. So again, someone needs to be fired for this, in my opinion. Someone on the offensive staff. It could be just a random assistant coach. Be like, you know what? You're the reason. We need to get you
A
out of here. But I mean,
scapegoat.
I mean, yeah, you gotta have someone to blame. I mean, learn from Sean Payton on people to blame for your own failures. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But the last one I want to talk about here, of course, was the Cardinals taking down the Niners on the road. Of course, we'll talk about Niners getting their win last night in just a sec. But Cardinals beating the Niners 24-23 in a comeback victory there. Listen, this Arizona team, we talk about it. They play hard and they play a full 60 minutes and they don't quit. And that is exactly, Austin, what happened in this game to give them that comeback win over the Niners.
Yeah, look, I've been so impressed with where this team is this season. Like we said, it's not the most talented roster in football. There are definitely a lot of holes here, but they have heart and they have a great leader in Kyler Murray. Look, he's gotten a lot of flack over his short NFL career, but I just love that the Cardinals believed in him, believed that he could still be the face of this franchise, and now he's coming out and proving it. Look, even though they're 2-3, they've played some really good football, and they have some really impressive wins under their belt.
Yeah, they truly do. But speaking of the Niners, let's move to what happened last night in Thursday Night Football. The Niners taking down the Seahawks 36-24. And listen, this is another loss for the Seahawks. Their third in a row after the 3-0 start. And you wonder, we talked about were they a contender or a pretender? And we both said a pretender. And through these past 3 games, it seems that we were proven right. But the Niners, again, Brock Purdy looked really good. The running back room was incredible. Got a new name for you. Isaac Guerendo is most likely going to be the new running back
Yeah.
because obviously Jordan Mason suffered an injury. He's going to be out for a bit of time. We still don't know when Christian McCaffrey's coming back. So I imagine several people on waiver wires picking up Isaac Guerendo this week. But both teams sitting at 3-3. Obviously, it's still neck and neck in that NFC West because basically all the teams are right there. Even the Rams at 1-4 are not that far out. But this was an impressive win on the road for the Niners to kind of get a little bit of a bounce back after the shocking loss to the Cardinals.
Yeah, that was a huge bounce back for them. They looked really good, and Brock Purdy looked really good. Dealing the football. Look, they got Debo's back. George Kittle looks back, and he got those guys involved and making big plays.
He truly did. And for Seattle, like we said, third loss in a row for them. I mean, is there anything really that looks different through the 3 weeks, or do you think it's what we talked about and they're just playing better competition through these 3 weeks, and that's what the difference is?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's just the schedule got tougher, and I think they just kind of were like, oh, we're 3-0. now we're good. We're a great team, and I think they're a talented team. But I think they got a little too comfortable, and now they're kind of getting punched in the face by this tougher part of the schedule.
And also, I mean, they're just not taking advantage. I mean, Giants at home last Sunday. I mean, it felt like an easy one, like an easy one. You go
Yeah,
in, you take care of the ball, everything, you're going to win the game. And then the Giants were able to upset them. But now, speaking of that, let's dive into this week's slate. We're going to go ahead and make our game picks here, Austin. And let's start with a fun one on the noon kickoff. The Washington Commanders at 4-1, heading to Baltimore to take on the Red Hot Ravens. These are two of the best offenses in football through the start of the season, two of the most fun quarterbacks in football. This is going to be an electric matchup, Austin. Who are you going with here?
I think this game's going to be razor thin. I think it's going to be a one possession finish, but I'm going to give it to the Ravens here. I think this defense is going to come to play, and they're going to frustrate the young Jaden Daniels, who's been electric. But I think this is the caliber of defense that could slow him down.
I also think so. I could see it. I'm expecting a lot of points in this game. At least that's what I'm expecting. I'm going to give it to the Ravens because it's at home. And like I said, I think the Ravens are the more talented team, especially defensively wise between the two of them. So yeah, I'll give it to the Ravens there. Next one, a sneaky good one at 12 o'clock. 2-3 Cardinals taking on the 3-2 Packers. Two teams that are slowly kind of building up as the season's going along. This one's going to be taking place at Lambeau at noon on Fox. Which one's coming out on top in this one, Austin?
I'm going to give it to the Cardinals. Malik Willis is 3-0 as the starter. Jordan Love's 0-2. So as long as Jordan Love's trotting out there till I see him win, I'm going to give it to the Cardinals.
There totally isn't any bias in that
Oh,
whatsoever.
no bias. That's my expert pick.
All right. I'll take the Packers to win at home. It's not that I don't believe in the Cardinals. I just think that they're due to get a win. I think the Cardinals got a great win last week, but going on the road 2 weeks in a row, I don't know if they'll be able to do it at Lambeau Field. But then the next one, let's take a look at it, Austin. The main game of all Sunday, 3:25 on Fox. 3-1 Detroit Lions taking on the Cowboys. We all remember what went down between these two last year on Monday Night Football. Whether Dan Skipper was eligible or not, who knows?
He
But
was, if
all
you
we
watch
know
the
is,
video.
yeah, I mean, he was eligible. I don't know what to say at this point. Uh, but this will be a fun matchup going down in Dallas. Question, Austin: do the Lions get a little get back for what took place last year?
I think they're going to get a big get back. A lot of players fallen on the IR or just on the injured list in general for the Cowboys right now. And they just look like a team that doesn't have a lot of steam. Now, I know they did get the win last week. Sorry to remind you. But I believe that the Lions come out and they make a big play and they get the job done and they make another dominant win to prove who they are.
Yeah. Then notice how I vaguely left that game out of my
Yeah,
discussion at all.
no
Um,
bias.
I I'm just trying to, yeah, no bias at all. I'm just trying to forget that happened. It was so late at night. I'm telling myself it was a dream and it was just a really bad nightmare. So that's what I'm rolling with. And yeah, I'm sticking to it. Speaking of sticking to it, I'm going to stick with the Lions. I'm going to pick them to win as well. Had the Cowboys lost to the Steelers, I would have honestly considered picking the Cowboys here, but this ain't no bounce back opportunity for them. Lions will be more fresh coming off a bye. I think they're going to be able to win it. And then, Austin, we've got Monday Night Football. We're not going to talk about Sunday Night Football at all. Just yeah, no, we're no one's going to be in the mood. Someone might have it on in the background. I'm going to the movies Sunday night, so I'm not even going to watch the game. Um, but let's take a look at this one: the Bills and the Jets on Monday Night Football. Of course, the big thing with the Jets, Jeff Ulbrich, the defensive coordinator, taking over as the new interim head coach. Bills looking to bounce back after two straight losses and avoid a third one, like some of the teams they have seen. So, what do you see going down the Meadowlands on Monday Night Football?
Well, I almost want to say that the Jets are going to win in honor of Robert Saleh because there are players like Sauce Gardner who say, look, I don't know why he was fired. This guy's always been great to me. He was super crucial to my development. And he said he's going to go out there and play the rest of this season for Robert Saleh. But I honestly think that's going to create more of a divide in the team because whether Aaron Rodgers wanted him gone or not, to me, it's clear that they didn't get along. It's clear that Aaron Rodgers didn't want him to be there. I think this is going to cause problems within the team and in the locker room. And I just don't see the Jets coming out a week after firing their head coach and that solving all their problems. I like the Bills to come back, get a nice bounce back win, and kind of show that they're who they started the season as. We're still that team.
Would, but I'm going to go with the interim coach sort of motivate. I'm going to take the exact opposite side of you here. I'm telling you, I think that at least for one game, you always see it after that first game after the coach firing, the team is always coming out and fired up. Now, it could come back and bite me, and it could happen like you think it is, but I'll take the Jets to win this game on Monday Night Football. My question is, will Josh Allen try to forget about what happened last year on Monday Night Football in the Meadowlands and the Bills get that out of their mind? And I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is not looking for a repeat of what happened against the Bills on Monday Night Football. I really
Yeah.
know for a fact he does not. But that's our picks for the game. Let's get to our bets of the week, Austin. And let's just say, man, oh man, what do you have this week? Because there's a lot of good options for the bets of the week.
I'm going to go with Commanders plus 6.5 in their game against the Ravens. Like I said, I think the Ravens are going to win, but I think it's going to be a really, really close game.
All right. Straight to the point. Straight to the point. Mine, I've been going with over-unders. Obviously, you take Steelers under, it hit again on Sunday Night Football. For me, I'm going to take a game where we're going to go under, and that's in Tampa Bay and New Orleans. They always play good defense against each other. I'm going to take Saints Buccaneers under 41.5 for my bet of the week. These are two really solid defenses, a rookie quarterback starting. To me, that equals an under. I'm saying I'm doing the math. You carry the one, and it's going to equal an under happening there. But that is our picks for our bets of the week. We have our game picks. We've talked all things NFL. That's going to be it for this episode. If you haven't already, go watch our college football episode. We preview all the great action that's going to go down this weekend. And we will see you all next week. But for now, that's Austin Hill. I'm Austin Wader. We want to thank you for watching.